Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience as we dealt through a few technical difficulties, but now we will get started. This summer, as many of our neighbors had to muck out ruined keepsakes from flooded basements, 2 or 3 times even, just this summer because of record-breaking rainfalls. And as friends out west are in constant fear of raging wildfires, worse than ever before, it is very clear that climate change is real, it is here, it is devastating. But it is also solvable. There are absolutely climate solutions that we can make happen if we all work together. As President Biden was just in town to celebrate and spotlight, electric cars and trucks are going to play a huge role in that climate solution. Electric cars and renewable energy are a big part of the climate solution, but they're not the entire solution. Not everyone can drive, not everyone wants to drive, not everyone can afford an electric vehicle, electric car. But good thing there are a lot of other great sustainable mobility options. A lot of other ways that people can get where they need to go, regardless of whether they drive, and get where they need to go in ways that are good for the planet and good for the wallet. And in fact, sometimes it can be a lot of fun in the process. Sustainable mobility options, that's what we're here focusing on today. And there are a lot of green mobility options beyond electric cars, like electric bikes and scooters, like clean fuel buses and shuttles, autonomous shuttles, micro-mobility. There are a lot of great ways to get around. Even good old-fashioned walking and biking are great for the planet and the pocketbook. With the help of our elected officials, especially at the state and at the federal level, we can make those major investments can help make sustainable mobility available for everyone. And I will pause to say, not only did we see the House pass the President sign the big bipartisan infrastructure bill last week. In case anyone missed it, the House passed the Build Back Better bill just this morning with $500 million for climate investments. So my name is Megan Owens. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Riders United. We believe that everyone should be able to get where they need to go, regardless of whether they drive, and get there sustainably, affordably, and reliably. We've been advocating, educating, mobilizing, and more for more and better public transit and mobility options for the last 20 years. And I am so honored to be joined today by quite a few sustainable companies, sustainable mobility companies, and agencies and startups, as well as policy experts who will help us understand the ways that our federal and state leaders can help ensure green mobility truly is available for everyone. Before I pass it off to those wonderful speakers, I want to take a few moments to thank some of the people who made this possible. First, I want to thank our sponsors, folks like Dream Corps, Green for All, SMART, VIA, May Mobility, Bird, MoGo. They went above and beyond, not just participating today, but supporting financially to enable this event to happen. So a huge thank you to those sponsors. And also I'd like to thank TRU's members. We are, as a small nonprofit organization, as an advocacy group, all of the work that we do couldn't be possible without the financial support of individuals who care about transit and our future. Every community presentation, every legislative meeting, every action alert, every media interview, every event like this is made possible by the financial support of our members. So if you are a member, thank you. If you are not, I would make this pitch to join TRU, donate to TRU, DetroitTransit.org/donate, or you can even text donate to 313-351-8338. a new text-to-donate service. So to get started with these mobility providers that we have here today, we'll start with the best-known form of green mobility, public transit. Pleased to be joined, to not only be hosted here at the Royal Oak Transit Center, but joined today by Robert Kramer, the Deputy General Manager of SMART, to tell us a little bit about what they're doing for green mobility.
Thank you, Megan. Good morning, everybody. The sun has cooperated nicely with our event today, warming up. I see most of the crowds over here in the sunny section, section S. Yes. As Megan mentioned, public transit is by design a green mode of transportation because it's moving a lot of people around on fewer vehicles instead of a single occupant or driver vehicle, and so that's something that kind of sets a nice base for us. But that doesn't mean we have to stop there. Obviously, there's lots of opportunities for us to play an even bigger part when it comes to helping to combat climate change, reduce emissions. So one of our older examples of that is actually our connector fleet. So we've got 120 of these vehicles that are behind me that we've transitioned 100% to propane. Now, of course, propane is still a fossil fuel, but it is much cleaner burning, requires lower maintenance, and it's actually much quieter running. We had passengers that when we first started having these propane on the road said, we can't believe it's like you can have a conversation with someone just like you're sitting at your dining room table. So a lot of the benefits of propane is also something that's cheaper for us to run than some of the older diesel vehicles as well. So this is kind of one of our first examples. We have a few hybrid buses, but as many people have mentioned, those have benefits that are limited based on how you use them. So we have just a few of those. But our next generation and the next step that we're really excited about is we have 4 all-electric 40-foot buses that are being finished and awaiting delivery from Proterra. We're waiting for the charging infrastructure to be in place to use those. And we're very excited to have that as our first opportunity, really to learn about not only how do you maintain, how do you operate, but how do they function in really on the road every day. Now that's what we don't know yet is when these buses are on the road and they've got people riding them and they're in traffic, how are they going to work? And how are we going to make sure that we integrate them into our service? And that's just the first step. All the talk about the infrastructure spending, all of the focus on the federal level about clean mobility really means that we're only going to go up from there. And so the quicker that we can learn about how those vehicles can fit into our fleet, and also look for other opportunities. So hydrogen fuel cell is still a clean option that's out there for some systems, not in our area, but we'd like to learn more about that, and other forms of transportation for some of the smaller vehicles, including potentially electric versions of these vehicles or some of our smaller vans, are all things that we're going to continue to look at, in addition to continuing our campaign to have every shelter that we purchase is a solar-powered shelter that has USB charging and a safety light inside. And on our fast route, we've got lots of solar panels because they also include next bus arrival information, an emergency call box, and other features that are all provided without contributing to any emissions in our region. So we're very excited about those. And as a perfect segue to our next speaker, we're also looking for other ways we can help people have transit be even more effective and convenient. So we've got our new service, Smart Flex, which is in 4 zones. We also have Quick Connect, which is in Farmington Hills. And those 2 services are what's called microtransit. It's on-demand service. It really allows us to take if you think about a bus stop has a walkable area, so it's convenient for people along the route. By having these services able to pick you up 7 days a week and then get you to and from those bus stops, we've allowed the really high quality, effective routes that we have can now be something that's accessible and convenient for everyone. And so I'm really excited. We've got Malkin is here from VIA, who's going to tell us more about their company. But they've been a great partner for us so far, and really encourage everyone to try out the service. Thank you.
Malkin from VIA Transportation on our policy team at VIA, and thanks so much to TRU and to SMART for being our hosts today. As Robert said, we partner with SMART on the Smart Flex service in 4 zones across the Metro Detroit area: Pontiac, Troy, Dearborn, and Hall Road. On Essentially what that service looks like is something like a cross between ride sharing and a traditional bus. You can use your phone. There's an app on your phone where you can call a vehicle. You say that you're going from point A to point B. We might ask you to walk a couple of blocks to a virtual bus stop to pick up the vehicle. And then you'll be matched to other riders who are kind of traveling in the same direction to get to your final destination. And as Robert said, there's a lot of areas in the U.S. and certainly in the SMART system that are, lower density, and it's tougher to really serve those areas with a regular fixed route bus. So what On Demand does is kind of bring bus stops to riders, allows them to get into a number of community spots within their zone, as well as into the rest of the transit network. And so we see this as a green mobility option because it stops someone who might think, okay, if I have to walk 2 miles to get to the bus stop and then take a bus for 20 minutes, I'll just drive the whole way. Instead of doing that, you can get a convenient, affordable, quick connection into that bus stop and then across the rest of the transit system. So I think I'll pass it on to our next speaker, who is, from May Mobility.
Hi everyone. Thanks Katie for the introduction, and thanks to TRU for sponsoring this event. Happy to be here with everyone on this wonderful Michigan day. So I am from May Mobility on the business development team, and we are a company based in Southeast Michigan. Ann Arbor is our headquarters, and we operate self-driving vehicles, so autonomous shuttles. And our vehicle is right there on my right, and we see autonomous vehicles as a complement to the existing transit infrastructure. All our rides are shared, and that is the way we see autonomous vehicles actually being able to complement public transit and reduce the emissions and congestion that come with putting many vehicles on the road. So we do have operations in Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids, Michigan, and a couple other sites across the US, but really what we see is as autonomous vehicles develop, along with the new electric infrastructure and with the new capabilities in engineering that make vehicles either electric, hybrid, or a combination of what you see over here, we see that autonomous vehicles will really be able to help people who may not have access to vehicles, again, do not want to drive, or just prefer a vehicle for given where they want to go. It'll allow them that option to be able to actually take the transit system without having the use for a car, and allowing more people to reduce the ownership of personal vehicles. So we really see shared autonomous vehicles as a way to complement all these other existing services that we see here, such as buses and scooters and other ride share services, as part of an ecosystem that allows many people to fit into a public transit network, which is what actually really makes transportation networks green. And I do not know exactly who I'm passing this off next to, so.
That's right, there's a list on there, but go ahead. Terry, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Perry Holmes here from Bird, and I also want to thank TRU and thank Megan for hosting this event. I was a student board fellow with TRU a few years ago, and I was a grad student at Michigan, so it's great to be back here and talking, representing Bird. If you're not familiar with Bird, we're an electric vehicle company, but you might have seen our scooters and bikes, and we're now in more than 350 cities around the world, including 15 in Michigan, which is really exciting. We're in Detroit, the bigger cities, but also smaller cities, Battle Creek, Midland. We're even in Iron Mountain in the UP, so it's really exciting to be bringing this sustainable transportation option to all types of cities. Some stats about the impact our riders in Detroit have had since we've been operating there. 680,000 rides, 836,000 miles, so that's more than 250,000 pounds of CO2 emissions that we've avoided, so that's something we're really proud about. And we really do see these scooters as a piece of the puzzle of the transportation solutions that Megan was talking about, connecting people to transit, replacing car trips, and being a good partner with other ways of getting around. We now have the MoGo bikes available in our app, so we're excited about that partnerships to help more people find ways to get around without a car. So just to keep this lightning speech quick on the different ways that we see scooters being a transportation solution. 1/3 of trips of our riders we see replacing car trips, either a private vehicle or Uber or Lyft, so that's a really exciting impact. And then the other thing I want to highlight is most of the emissions that come from a scooter trip are based on manufacturing the vehicle. So these newer models that you might have seen last more than 18 months, which creates a much larger emission savings by avoiding those emissions. And we're really excited because we see a huge potential for this to grow. So many of the trips that people take are under 2 or 3 miles, and that's the perfect length that you can take a trip on a scooter instead of a car. So we're really excited about the infrastructure and investments that cities are making to make this another option for people. And thank you. So I don't know if I'm handing it next to MoGo. Yeah, it's to MoGo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming and braving the chill today. I'm super excited to be here, and thank you to our host and everyone else that's participating. So I'll just give you a quick introduction about what MoGo is. We are an active shared micromobility option. We're a bike share system. We operate in Detroit, greater downtown, northwest Detroit, and then Oak Park, Royal Oak, Ferndale, Berkeley, and Huntington Woods. We did that expansion last year. So currently we have 76 stations. That number went up just a couple of months ago. Wayne State did a partnership with us, so they bought us a new station. And roughly 650 bikes, 81 of which are our MoGo Boost E pedal assist bikes. So, MoGo's role in the green mobility sphere here in Metro Detroit, we are obviously a bike. It's a bike. So 0 emissions, and all of our stations are solar powered. I'm not sure if people actually realize that, but every single one is a solar powered station. So we have never plugged in. So we have zero responsibility, I guess, to contributing to all the ills of the world here. But obviously people can go, they can get a bike, it's 100% human powered, except for the boost, which gives you literally that. Little boost when you pedal. It can go up to 15 miles per hour, 40 hours on a charge. We will be getting some charging stations to put out into the field so that instead of our team coming and having to pick them up and take them back to the warehouse to charge them, they can be charged at a station, which will not be solar powered, but that's coming. So we're super excited to, again, be contributing to Detroit in this way, providing people with a really clean and healthy option to get around is really important. This is about green actions here. But I do want to also bring up that active mobility is a really great thing to help people's health. And we know that as we are here in the midst of this pandemic, one of the things that people can do, obviously, to help mitigate the dangers of that is to be as healthy as they can be. So I'm happy that we provide that sort of option for folks. Thank you. And I think Mike is next. All right.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, TRU, for having us here today. My name is Mike Reuter. I am president and CEO of American Cycle and Fitness, the bicycle stores in Michigan, and Electric Avenue Bikes, which is our e-bike only store in Detroit on Woodward at MLK. So the thing I want to talk mostly about is e-bikes as personal mobility. Here's one that we have, which is a cargo bike, which really lends itself to whatever you want to do for personal mobility as far as transportation. We like to think that e-bikes are, they used to say that bikes were the last mile. We like to say that e-bikes are the last 10 miles because when you're on an e-bike, you can go, for instance, this bike will go 150 miles on a charge. It's more than my wife's electric car. So it really does lend itself to do whatever you need to do to get out there and go the distance, whether it's a mile or whether it's 10 miles. So last thing I'll say about e-bikes and about the whole e-market, whether it's a bike or a scooter, it's happening. It's not going away. E-bikes are 30% of our business, 30%. That's not just driven by the pandemic. That was already on a steep incline prior to the pandemic. The pandemic just made it all that more prevalent. So yeah, e-bikes are here to stay, and it's great. They're going to do great things for people. Thanks for having me.
Morning, everyone. My name is Peter Eppy. I'm the co-founder and CEO of KUHMUTE. We're a Flint, Michigan-based company that develops and deploys the universal charging network for anything smaller than a car. And yes, that includes both, the shared versions you see in front of us, as well as the personally owned versions. And we are agnostic to the different form factors as well. So we have a little demo over there if you want to come see and check us out. But we work with a wide variety of, right now, about 15 different vehicles, and that works across, electric scooters, e-bikes, wheelchairs, delivery robots, and more, because we know that having the proper infrastructure to really drive micromobility usage is really the best way to get people to choose these sustainable options over, just the default of jumping in your car and taking that mile trip. So really excited to be here today. Thank you to Megan and the TRU team for having us. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at our website, www.KUHMUTE.com, or feel free to just come over to our booth and we'd love to have a chat. Thank you.
Wow, so many great mobility options that fit so many different types of getting around. And I definitely do encourage everyone, if you haven't tried them out, they are not only great ways to get around, but as I said, can be pretty fun too. But it's important to remember that going green is not just a personal responsibility. People can only use these modes to the extent that they're available. People are not going to use transit or shuttles if they don't go the places and times that people need to go. And most people are not going to walk or bike or scooter on streets where they don't feel safe. That's why it's so important for our elected officials to provide us with the infrastructure that we need to go green and to drive less. Now, we've seen some really great progress already. Both all of the things that the previous speakers have shared about what they're doing, as well as the federal infrastructure bill. The federal infrastructure bill is now signed into law, and that will put enormous investments into transit and more. And just this morning, the Build Back Better bill was passed by the House. We strongly urge the Senate to get moving on that too, because it invests another $500 million in tackling the climate crisis. Now, I will say Congressman Andy Levin was originally planning to be with us today. Unfortunately, he had to be in DC to vote on that, so it's an understandable excuse for him not to join us. We certainly appreciate him and all of the local congressional delegation for their commitments to infrastructure and to enabling people to go green. But in a lot of ways, those are a start. We definitely need that Build Back Better passed by the Senate and signed into law so that we can make the broad investments in all of the different infrastructure that we need. It's making our streets safer and easier to walk and bike and scoot. It's providing the expanded transit into more places to make it easier for more people to get where they need to go. And as well as all of the different charging that we need for vehicles large and small. We'll also say it's very exciting that Michigan is looking at ways that we can be part of that climate solution as well. The governor has appointed a Council on Climate Solutions, and the next couple months we'll be coming out with a climate climate plan for Michigan. Another huge opportunity to improve our infrastructure here in this community. So to talk a little bit about, we've got several great policy experts to talk about some of those ways that our elected officials can ensure we have the infrastructure we need so that people can choose to go green with their transportation. We'll start with Melanie Piana, who is not only mayor of Ferndale, but also a bicyclist, an avid bicyclist, an urban planner, and a certified climate change professional. Melanie?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for having me, Megan and Drew. It is an honor to be here in the stead of Congressman Levin. I know he certainly has gotten a lot of my advocacy texts. Please pass the infrastructure bill, because as a local policymaker and elected official, it's been very important to me that my city, and not only me and my city council, but we're doing our part to make sure that Michigan is a place where we attract and retain talent. And we all know that part of it is how our cities are designed and how they function for everyone. And we're in the midst of, I would say, a transformation. And the infrastructure bill that was just passed is going to help that, hopefully, that transformation happen more quickly than without all this money coming to transportation and climate resiliency. For the last 3.5 years, I've been part of the National League of Cities Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So I've been committed not only in figuring out how to make local policy changes here at home, but how to making sure that the infrastructure bill actually answered the needs of cities across the United States. And so I'm really excited that yesterday, Secretary Pete Buttigieg actually answered one of my questions about transformational change, trying to do that on Woodward Avenue in my community. And I just wanted to thank everybody here who has been supportive of me in the last 12, 15 years on policy, advising me, helping me and supporting me move things forward in the city of Ferndale. But I also would like to highlight that the city of Royal Oak and Ferndale are one of the few communities in Oakland County who have set climate resiliency goals to reduce our greenhouse gases. And if any city has done their greenhouse gas inventory, they would know that their transportation sector in their community is the top emitter of greenhouse gas emissions. And so if resetting your goals and decision making around equity and sustainability in your community is a really significant way to think about how to make decisions and investment spending. It is not an easy path to take, but one I think is most critical to the success of not only Ferndale, South Oakland County cities and across Metro Detroit and the city of Detroit, but the state of Michigan. So thank you so much for having me, and I will look forward to collaborating going forward, because I think we'll still need your support going forward to continue to make transformational change in our streets and sidewalks and transportation options in Ferndale. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Charles Griffith. I'm the Climate and Energy Program Director at the Ecology Center, a nonprofit that works on a range of environmental issues statewide. I am really pleased to be here today with our hosts from TRU and all of the rest of the folks here. Really great set of vehicles and technologies here. It's really clear, since we I think all agree that climate change is a real emergency, that we get going on green mobility options. And I'm really glad that it was pointed out that transportation is now the largest source of carbon emissions, not only across the United States, but here in Michigan, that's true as well. So all the more reason we need to get going on this more quickly. And I'm pleased to say, as Megan pointed out, that there are some really robust conversations about this happening at the state level. within Governor Whitmer's Council on Climate Solutions, which was charged with coming up with policy recommendations for how we're going to meet 100% carbon neutrality by 2050, while also addressing historical inequities amongst Michigan residents. So one of the 5 working groups is on transportation and mobility, and I was asked to co-chair that working group. And we met for a number of months over the last spring and summer, and finally delivered our recommendations to the full council in October. And those recommendations include a wide range of potential solutions. One set of them focused on how do we accelerate this transition to vehicle electrification, not only for personal vehicles, but also trucks and buses and delivery vans, even micro-mobility, e-bikes and such. So that's one kind of clear plank of the recommendations that have been submitted. But there's also another set of recommendations that focus on how we need to invest significantly more in public transit and shared mobility, as well as infrastructure that would make our streets safer so that we can encourage more walking and biking. The bottom line was that we need really all of these solutions, as Megan hinted, to be able to meet our carbon reduction goals. And also our equity goals, as was pointed out. You know, not everybody can drive a personal vehicle or can afford to drive a personal vehicle. So we need options for those folks that don't have it. And we also need to encourage more people to take shared mobility options because it's just the right thing to do. The council is accepting recommendations on, or accepting comment on those draft recommendations right now. And there's the draft report is expected to be out in mid-January, and there will be a round of public comment then. I really hope that everyone with us here today will take the time to submit some comments and strongly support these green mobility recommendations and that plan so that it can become an official part of Governor Whitmer's healthy climate plan. Thank you so much for everybody's time today.
Hello, my name is Todd Scott. I'm the Executive Director for the Detroit Greenways Coalition. We're a nonprofit building more biking and walking trails across the city of Detroit. So of course, getting more people biking and walking is very important to us. And it is the low-hanging fruit. It is the most effective way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, with walking, there's no greenhouse gas emissions. And with bicycling, there's very few associated with the manufacturing. And sort of, as opposed to some other modes that look green, but also have a lot of greenhouse gas emissions attached to the manufacture of those vehicles. So, but one way to get more people walking and biking is to make it safer and more convenient and more fun to do. And we have not done a very good job of that in Michigan. We've had a complete streets policy that really has not worked at the state level. We still continue to fund projects that increase vehicle speeds, vehicle capacity, and we need to really turn that around so we make our streets safe for everybody to operate and make biking and walking a safe choice for folks. I tell you, we've been at this for a long time. It's a little bit like trying to steer a train. A lot of people just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, so we're really hoping that climate change is an opportunity for us to get people to think differently. I think that what's coming from the federal government in terms of the infrastructure bill can really force some change at the state level and MPO level to get us to look at our roads differently and try to build them for all people to operate safely. I mean, what we've seen during COVID with safety for bikes and peds has been horrific. It's a crisis. We've seen bike fatalities increase 80% last year, while pedestrian fatalities in Southeast Michigan increased by 40%. That's just not acceptable. We need to do more than just fill potholes and keep doing what we're doing. We need to build better roads for our communities. And I'll turn it back over to Megan.
Well, to summarize, there are clearly a lot of great green mobility options, ways to get around sustainably and affordably, as you've seen here today, because that really is the goal. Each and every person, regardless of your age, income, or physical ability, should be able to get around in ways that are both easy on the wallet and good for the planet. So get out there and try some of these green mobility options. But as I mentioned, it is not just up to individuals to go green. We depend on our elected leaders, both at the local level, but especially at the state and at the federal level, to make the investments in the infrastructure we need, to make it safe and convenient to walk and to bike, and to use scooters and other mobility devices. We should have lots of places where we can ride, as well as to greatly expand the public transit infrastructure, both the larger buses, those great new electric buses that are coming to both SMART and DDOT, as well as microtransit and the whole spectrum of ways that people can get around. So we definitely urge the Senate to pass that Build Back Better bill very quickly and maximize the investment in green mobility and clean energy solutions. And as Charles said, we're very excited that the Whitmer administration is developing the Michigan Healthy Climate Plan so that Michigan can be part of the climate solution. I'm proud to have been part of the Council on Climate Solutions Transportation Work Group and to help draft recommendations that really would expand public transit and ensure that the state started us on a path to ensure everyone has access to get the places they need to go. So I will say, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to share your thoughts with the Climate Council and with the governor. You can go to detroittransit.org/climate to learn more and to take action. Climate change is truly a global problem that none of us can solve alone, but it's an opportunity for everyone working together if everyone will do their part, it is solvable. Individuals can get out and walk and bike and ride more and drive less. Advocates like TRU, with the support of our members and partners, are absolutely doing our part to fight, and we will continue to fight for more and better transit. The great agencies and companies you've seen today are all doing their part. Now we look to our elected officials at the state and federal level to ensure that we truly can have affordable, sustainable mobility that works for everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in person here in Royal Oak and who joined on Facebook as well. This is not the end of the conversation. This is a very important issue that we will continue to fight on. But thanks so much and have a great day.